When I opened my eyes, the Vulpine queen was already there. Dr. Elias Kors slowly opened his eyes and immediately realized something was wrong. The first thing he noticed was the cold, smooth surface beneath him, unlike any bed or floor he had ever touched. He tried to move, but his limbs felt heavy, as if the air itself weighed him down. Blinking rapidly, he looked around and saw the walls glowing faintly with a soft, bluish light. Strange patterns, like living veins, moved across the crystalline surfaces, pulsing in rhythm with an unidentifiable hum. It was neither mechanical nor natural. It was something in between. And then he saw her. The Vulpine queen stood at the far end of the room, her golden fur shimmering under the light. Her eyes were like polished amber, intelligent and calculating. She moved with a grace that was unsettling, almost fluid, and yet every motion suggested careful control. Elias's heart skipped a beat. She was already there, standing in the shadows, watching him. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then, without moving her lips, he heard words in his mind, not spoken, but thought directly into him. "You are far from home, human. Why have you come?" Elias swallowed hard. He had studied alien species for years, but never had he experienced direct telepathy. His mind raced, trying to process the sudden invasion of his thoughts while keeping his own composure. He forced himself to respond, mentally forming the words, I do not know. I only woke up here." The queen's ears twitched, a subtle but expressive movement. "You are not lying." But lying is useless here. The temple sees all. It remembers all. Elias tried to stand, and this time his legs obeyed. As he rose, he noticed more of the room. Floating platforms hovered in the air, connected by glowing bridges of light that seemed to respond to his movement. Strange symbols, both geometric and organic, covered the walls and floor. The air smelled faintly of ozone and something sweet, like honey warmed by sunlight. It was beautiful, alien, and terrifying. Why am I here? He asked mentally, though he also said the words aloud, hoping she might answer in some way that didn't feel invasive. "You were chosen," the queen replied, her voice now a soft echo in his mind. "Chosen because you are human, and humans are interesting." That single sentence made his stomach twist. Humans had always been considered fragile by other species in the galaxy, predictable and easily dominated. Yet this creature regarded him with curiosity. Not fear, not scorn, but a kind of quiet fascination. That realization gave him a strange, flickering sense of hope. Perhaps humanity had more potential than he had ever imagined. Elias took a cautious step forward. "What is this place?" he asked aloud. His voice sounded small, swallowed by the vast chamber. "This is the Temple of Memories," the queen said. "It records everything, sees everything, and tests those who enter. You have entered without invitation, and now you must prove your mind and your courage." Elias's pulse quickened. A temple that tested him? The thought made every instinct scream in warning. He had faced dangerous situations on Earth and in distant research missions, but nothing like this. Yet he felt a flicker of excitement, a reminder of why he had become a scientist in the first place. Humans were explorers, curious, brave, sometimes foolishly so. And now, it seemed he would need to prove those qualities. The queen tilted her head, as if reading his thoughts. "Do not be afraid. Fear is natural, but it cannot guide you here. Your mind, your instincts, your creativity, these are your tools." Elias took another step, letting his hands brush along one of the floating bridges. The light shifted under his touch, responding to his presence. He marveled at it, feeling both awe and terror. The room seemed alive, but not hostile. It was waiting, watching, testing. Suddenly, a low hum filled the air. And images appeared before him, holographic scenes of humans on Earth. Exploring, creating, sometimes failing, often persevering. He recognized them. Expeditions, research stations, moments of humanity's ingenuity and stubbornness. It was as if the temple itself was showing him what humans were capable of. "Your species has potential," the queen said. "You survive where others fail. You adapt, you think, you endure. That is why you are here." Elias swallowed. It was flattering in a strange alien way. but it also made the weight of the moment heavier. The queen's presence was not just observation, it was judgment. And somehow, he had to show that humans deserved a place in this world. As he looked closer, he noticed subtle movements around the temple. Small, fox-like creatures with translucent fur darted along the walls, observing him curiously. They seemed harmless, but their intelligence was evident. They communicated silently through glances and gestures, coordinating in ways Elias could barely comprehend. Even here, in the queen's presence, life had adapted to a level far beyond what humans had seen. He felt the urge to explore further. Every instinct screamed at him to understand this place, to map it, to test it, as any human scientist would. Yet he also felt the invisible boundary of the queen's awareness. One wrong move, and she would know. One mistake, and he could be trapped forever in this alien temple. Taking a deep breath, Elias began to move along one of the floating bridges. The hum shifted slightly as he walked, the light pulsing under his feet. He realized that the temple responded to thought and action, almost as if it were learning about him with every step. He tried to calm his racing mind and focus, letting his curiosity guide him rather than fear. The queen descended slowly from her position above, her feet barely touching the ground. Every step she took seemed deliberate, powerful yet elegant. She stopped a few meters away, her golden eyes fixed on him. "Do you understand why you are here?" she asked. Elias hesitated. Could he really answer that? "I think to be tested, to see if I am worthy." She nodded slightly. "Yes, and perhaps more. To see if your species is worthy. The universe has many dangers. Many civilizations fail, but some endure. Humans have endured. That is why you are here." A sense of awe swept over him. The words were not just about him. They were about humanity. For the first time in the presence of an alien species, he felt a spark of pride in what it meant to be human. They were not the strongest, not the fastest, not the most technologically advanced, but they were resilient, clever, and unpredictable. Traits that could save them in ways brute force never could. "You will face the labyrinth soon," the queen said, her voice a gentle but firm echo in his mind. "It will test your mind, your courage, your ingenuity. You will face things that will challenge every assumption you hold. Only by navigating it will you understand the potential of humans." Elias's heart pounded, but he nodded. Somehow, he knew she could see the gesture. Somehow, he knew this was not a threat, but an opportunity. One more step in proving what humanity could do. The queen lifted her hand and a doorway appeared at the far end of the room. The air shimmered, revealing the entrance to a vast, twisting passageway that descended into darkness. Faint lights flickered along its curves, hinting at secrets and dangers that awaited. The temple was alive, yes, but it was also full of knowledge. Full of opportunity. Elias swallowed hard. Then, with careful steps, he began walking toward the passage. Every fiber of his being was alert, yet driven by the same human trait that had brought him this far: curiosity. As he entered the labyrinth, the light shifted around him. Symbols and patterns moved, forming puzzles and obstacles that would test his mind at every turn. And through it all, the presence of the Vulpine Queen lingered, watching, learning. He was exploring what it meant to be human in a universe that was far bigger, stranger, and more intelligent than he had ever imagined. And in that moment, a quiet determination settled over him. No matter the danger, no matter the uncertainty, he would face it. Humans always did. And somewhere above, the Vulpine Queen smiled. Just a fraction, as if acknowledging the spark of potential she had sensed in him. The labyrinth awaited. And so did the first true test. Elias stepped carefully into the labyrinth. The air changed immediately, cooler, heavier, and alive with an energy he could almost feel pressing against his skin. The walls here were not smooth like the temple chamber. Instead, they shimmered with moving patterns, like liquid metal frozen mid-flow. Symbols twisted and shifted constantly, and the floor under his feet felt slightly unstable, as if it would respond to the wrong movement with consequences he could not predict. He paused and studied the path ahead. The labyrinth was immense, stretching beyond what his eyes could see. Bridges of glowing light twisted into impossible angles. Corridors bent back on themselves, and rooms opened and closed like living things. Every step made him more aware of the Queen's presence, though she remained unseen. It was as if the labyrinth itself was her eyes, watching, testing, calculating. Elias tried to calm his mind. Humans were curious by nature, prone to exploring the unknown even when danger was obvious. That trait, so often reckless, might be his greatest advantage here. He reminded himself of every lesson from his field research. First, test second, adapt constantly. He stepped forward, feeling the floor respond to his weight. The symbols on the walls shifted in patterns he didn't understand, yet they seemed to guide him. For hours or maybe minutes, time felt distorted. He navigated twisting corridors, small traps, and illusions that tried to confuse him. One moment he thought he was walking straight. The next, the walls turned inward, forcing him to backtrack. Yet each misstep revealed something new, a hidden pathway, a hint in the patterns, a detail the labyrinth had revealed unintentionally at one point. A bridge of light stretched across a void that seemed to extend infinitely downward. The surface beneath him flickered, and he realized it would not support a misstep. Hesitating for only a moment, Elias took a deep breath and began to cross, each footfall steady and measured. He thought of how humans, when faced with impossible odds, often relied on careful planning and imagination rather than sheer strength. He imagined the bridge as a puzzle, not just a challenge, and let his mind trace possible consequences before moving. Step by step, he reached the other side. When he looked back, the bridge had vanished. It was as if the labyrinth had only existed to test his judgment, his patience, and his ability to stay calm under pressure. He realized that unlike other species he had studied, humans had a unique way of combining observation, reasoning, and creativity. It was not speed or raw intelligence, but adaptability that gave them the edge. Deeper inside, Elias entered a chamber filled with light and shadows. Strange floating shapes drifted in the air, transparent cubes, shifting spheres, and ribbons of glowing material that moved as if alive. They reacted to his presence, forming patterns and sometimes blocking paths. He discovered quickly that touching one of the shapes caused a ripple through the room, changing the positions of the others. Some moved in helpful ways, opening doors or forming stepping stones. Others became obstacles. Elias experimented, gently nudging a cube with his hand. It shifted slightly and a sphere moved away, revealing a passage. He smiled to himself. Humans were natural problem solvers, often thinking beyond rigid patterns. This chamber was not just a trap, it was a test of his ingenuity. Hours passed, what felt like hours as he worked his way through. He faced puzzles that required both logic and creativity. Some symbols on the walls were mathematical, others symbolic, and still others relied on timing or intuition. With each solution, the labyrinth seemed to respond, as if measuring not just his success, but his thought process. Then came the guardians. Small creatures, fox-like in appearance, with translucent fur and glowing eyes, appeared silently around him. They moved with agility and intelligence, testing his reactions. Each time he approached, they darted away, forcing him to think ahead. When he tried to corner one, it vanished into a wall of light, reappearing somewhere else. They were not hostile in the traditional sense. They were observers and testers. He realized that brute force would achieve nothing here. Only understanding, patience, and adaptability would carry him forward. Elias noticed a pattern in their movements. They responded to hesitation, fear, or aggression. Calmness and careful observation allowed him to anticipate their shifts. He began to move with a rhythm, stepping lightly, adjusting his pace according to the creature's behavior. Slowly, he learned their logic core, at least enough of it to navigate safely at the far end of the chamber. A faint glow indicated another passage. Elias approached and found a shallow pool of crystal-clear water. As he looked into it, images appeared on the surface: memories, visions of humans he knew, moments of triumph and failure. One image showed a human child solving a problem that adults had failed to understand. Another showed a team working together to repair a spaceship under impossible conditions. The pool seemed to reflect not just memory, but human potential. Humans are remarkable, a voice echoed in his mind. You endure. You adapt. You learn. You create even when all odds are against you. Elias shivered, realizing that the Queen had placed him in this labyrinth not to destroy him, but to measure the qualities that made humans exceptional. Curiosity, ingenuity, courage, and resilience, these were the traits that allowed his species to survive in hostile environments. And here, on this alien world, those traits could make the difference between failure and success. He stepped into the pool. The water was cool but not unpleasant, and it seemed to flow around him as if aware of his movements. Images shifted, presenting him with challenges that required moral reasoning and creative thinking. One vision showed a human trapped in a collapsing structure, and he was asked to find a way to save both the human and the environment around them without harm. Another presented an ethical dilemma between selfish gain and the greater good. Each test pushed him further, and though he struggled, he relied on human intuition, empathy, and ingenuity to succeed. After completing the challenges, Elias emerged from the pool into a corridor bathed in golden light. The labyrinth was changing again, forming a vast spiral staircase that descended into darkness. He could hear the faint hum of energy, almost like a heartbeat. And he understood that the labyrinth was alive in a sense, sensing and responding to him constantly. He paused, taking a deep breath. Humans are adaptable, he thought. We think differently. We find ways forward when others see walls. We survive when the odds seem impossible. That realization steadied him, giving him a sense of confidence he had never felt in an alien environment. As he descended, he noticed symbols on the walls that seemed to guide him, but also challenge him. Some were mathematical, some abstract, and some appeared to require memory or pattern recognition. He realized the labyrinth was a teacher as well as a test, revealing lessons for those patient enough to observe. At the bottom of the spiral, he entered a chamber filled with mirrors, but they did not reflect his image. Instead, they displayed versions of himself in different scenarios, solving problems, failing, learning, surviving. He realized the Queen had created these reflections to show him the full spectrum of human potential. Each reflection was a reminder that humans were not limited by strength alone. They thrived on curiosity, resilience, and collaboration. Suddenly, a figure appeared at the center of the room. The Vulpine Queen stepped forward, her golden eyes shining in the reflected light. "You have done well," she said, her voice resonating in his mind. "You think, you adapt, you endure. These are the qualities my people respect. Few species show such potential." Elias felt a surge of relief, but also determination. He knew this was only the beginning. The labyrinth had tested his mind. But he understood now that the true challenges lay ahead, not just for him, but for humanity as a whole. He had glimpsed the potential of humans in a universe far more complex than he had imagined. And he felt a quiet pride. "The true challenge awaits," the Queen said. "Prepare yourself. You are not merely a guest here. You are an example of your species, and your choices will matter." Elias nodded. For the first time since waking in the alien temple, he felt ready. The labyrinth had taught him much, not just about the world he was in, but about what it meant to be human in a galaxy full of intelligence, danger, and wonder. And as he stepped forward into the next corridor, he realized something important. Humans were unpredictable, clever, and capable of greatness. And that unpredictability could be a weapon, a tool, and a shield in a universe that measured every species by its ability to survive, adapt, and thrive. The labyrinth was far from over, but Elias Core was ready. He had discovered something essential. The human mind was a force the universe could not ignore, and somewhere above, hidden in the shadows, the Vulpine Queen watched. Aware that this human, this small, fragile, adaptable creature might yet prove to be the key to something far larger than either of them could imagine. Elias stepped cautiously into the chamber at the heart of the labyrinth. The air here was thick with a quiet energy, almost vibrating with anticipation. The walls were high and smooth, glowing with a pale golden light that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. Floating in the center of the room was a platform, suspended several feet above the ground, with patterns of light spinning slowly across its surface. The Vulpine Queen was there, standing at the edge, her golden fur shimmering as if lit from within. "You have reached the center," she said, her voice echoing softly in his mind. "Here your true challenge begins." Ilias's pulse quickened. He had navigated the labyrinth, solved its puzzles, and endured its guardians. But this felt different. He sensed that the test now was not about movement or observation, but something deeper, something that would measure his intelligence, his morality, and perhaps even his courage. "What must I do?" he asked mentally, though he also spoke aloud, as if saying the words might steady him. "You must save what is precious," the Queen replied. "And you must do it using your mind, your ingenuity, and your humanity. You will face simulations designed to test your reasoning, your compassion, and your creativity. Fail, and you will be lost. Succeed, and you will prove not only yourself but your species." Elias took a deep breath and stepped onto the platform. Instantly the room shifted. The golden light intensified, and a series of holographic images appeared before him. He was no longer in the chamber. Instead, he stood at the edge of a collapsing city. Buildings crumbled around him. In a small figure, a young alien child cried for help from the rubble. Ilias's instincts kicked in. He ran toward the child, but the ground beneath him shifted unpredictably. Every time he took a step, debris fell differently. He realized immediately that brute force would not save the child. He needed to anticipate the environment, plan his moves, and act with precision. He glanced around, analyzing the rubble. Using a piece of debris as a lever, he shifted larger stones safely, creating a path to the child. The simulation adapted constantly, changing obstacles with every action he took. It was like nothing he had ever experienced, an environment alive with intention. Testing his ability to solve problems under pressure, think creatively, the Queen's voice echoed. "Do not rely on strength alone." Elias nodded to himself. Humans were not always the strongest, but their ingenuity had allowed them to survive in hostile environments for millennia. He remembered training from past expeditions, moments when his team had found solutions others overlooked. Using small, flexible tools, he crafted a makeshift pulley system from broken beams and rubble, creating a safe route for the child to escape. Step by step, he guided the child out of danger, careful not to trigger any collapse that could trap them both. The simulation shifted again, presenting a new challenge. This time, he was faced with a moral dilemma. Two groups of beings were in danger, separated by a rapidly closing barrier. One group was larger, but the other smaller group included an injured elder. He could save only one group in the time allowed. Ilias's mind raced. Every instinct urged him to choose the larger group. The numbers would maximize survival. Yet he remembered the Queen's earlier words. This test was not just about efficiency, but about humanity, about decision-making under moral pressure. He considered the options carefully. Humans had a history of balancing logic with empathy. And he realized that sometimes, doing the right thing meant taking a less obvious path. Choosing the smaller group, he acted quickly to move the injured elder to safety and then help the others escape when the barrier shifted again. It was a tense balance, and the simulation punished even small mistakes, but he succeeded. The room shifted once more. He now found himself in a strange forest, filled with towering trees that glowed faintly, casting long shadows. Strange creatures watched silently from the canopy, their eyes intelligent and curious. A puzzle appeared before him. A bridge made of light stretched across a deep chasm, but the pattern of its steps changed depending on his choices. Misstep, and the bridge would vanish. Elias studied the bridge carefully, observing how it reacted to his movements. He realized that timing was key. He began to step forward slowly, noting the patterns, adjusting his pace, and predicting how the bridge would change with each step. Humans were not always fast, but they were observant, adaptable, and capable of learning patterns quickly. Using these traits, he made it safely across the chasm. As he reached the other side, the simulation presented its final test. A complex machine floated before him, composed of multiple layers of moving parts. Its purpose was unclear, but he could see that if mismanaged, it would collapse, destroying everything he had saved in the previous simulations. The task was not simply to move the pieces, but to understand the system, recognize patterns, and find a solution that maintained balance. Elias examined the machine. He realized it was a test of human problem-solving, ability pattern recognition, spatial reasoning, and creative thinking. He began to manipulate the parts carefully, testing small sections before attempting larger movements. The machine responded to his ingenuity, adjusting itself subtly. Challenging him further, time stretched, and fatigue threatened to slow him down. Yet he pushed on, recalling humanity's greatest achievements: survival in harsh environments, building civilizations, exploring space, and adapting to unknown worlds. Each memory reinforced his determination. Step by step, he aligned the moving parts, corrected misalignments, and finally stabilized the system. The simulation ended suddenly. The forest, the city, the bridge, and the machine vanished. Elias found himself back on the golden platform in the chamber, his heart racing but his mind clear. He had succeeded. The Vulpine Queen stepped closer, her presence commanding yet not threatening. "You have passed the trial," she said. "You have demonstrated ingenuity, courage, empathy, and adaptability. Qualities rare among many species. Humans are exceptional in ways many would not understand." Elias exhaled, feeling a mixture of relief, pride, and awe. He realized the labyrinth had not merely tested him, but had highlighted the qualities that made humans stand out in the galaxy: creativity, moral reasoning, resilience, and the ability to think beyond immediate threats. "Your species is unpredictable," the Queen continued. "This unpredictability can be dangerous, but it is also your strength. You do not follow rigid patterns. You adapt. You learn. You endure. That is why you have survived where others have failed." Elias nodded, feeling the truth of her words. Humans were not perfect, far from it, but they had a combination of curiosity, intelligence, and determination that allowed them to face impossible odds. The Queen had seen that spark in him, and through him. She had glimpsed the potential of all humanity. "Now," she said, "you must prepare for what comes next. The universe is not as simple as this temple. There are dangers, yes, but also opportunities. You have shown that humans are capable of rising to challenges. Soon, you will understand that your potential can shape events on a scale you cannot yet imagine." Elias felt a surge of excitement. The Queen's words were both a warning and an invitation. He understood that this was not just about surviving a labyrinth or pleasing an alien ruler. It was about proving that humans could stand among the stars, capable of making decisions, adapting, and leading when necessary. "I understand," he replied aloud, "and I will continue to prove it." The Queen's eyes glimmered. "Good. You have done well, human. But remember this: intelligence alone is not enough. Compassion, creativity, courage, and the ability to adapt are what define true strength. You have all these, but the universe will test them further. Prepare yourself." As she stepped back, the chamber shifted. A doorway appeared at the far end, glowing softly. Beyond it, Elias could sense movement, light, and new challenges. The labyrinth had shown him the best of what humans could do. And now, the Queen was offering him and through him, humanity a chance to engage with the wider galaxy. Elias paused at the threshold. Reflecting on everything he had experienced, he had faced puzzles, illusions, moral dilemmas, and simulations that challenged every part of his mind and spirit. And through it all, he had survived, adapted, and succeeded. He realized that the qualities the Queen admired were not extraordinary gifts. They were the essence of being human. Humans were not the fastest, the strongest, or the most technologically advanced, but they could solve problems, think creatively, and act with courage and compassion when it mattered most. He stepped forward into the next corridor, feeling a sense of purpose he had never known. The labyrinth had tested him, yes, but it had also shown him the path forward. Humans were capable of greatness, and he would carry that knowledge with him as he faced whatever came next. Somewhere above, hidden in the shadows, the Vulpine Queen watched. She had seen the spark in Elias and knew that humanity was a species to be reckoned with. Their unpredictability, their ingenuity, and their resilience were strengths that could not be measured by mere numbers or brute force. And in the challenges that awaited beyond this temple, those strengths would prove essential not just for Elias, but for all of humanity. Elias walked steadily down the corridor, ready to face the next test. The labyrinth had ended, but the journey was just beginning. He carried with him the certainty that humans, though small and fragile in appearance, were capable of remarkable things. And he knew, deep in his heart, that the universe had not yet seen the full potential of humanity. Elias emerged from the labyrinth into a vast chamber filled with soft golden light. Unlike the twisting corridors and shifting puzzles of the maze, this space was calm and orderly. Tall, crystalline pillars stretched to a ceiling that seemed impossibly high, and delicate streams of light floated through the air like gentle rivers. The atmosphere felt alive but peaceful, as if the temple itself was breathing around him. At the far end of the chamber stood the Vulpine Queen, her golden fur radiant in the ambient light. Her posture was relaxed but authoritative, and her eyes held the same intelligence and curiosity that had fascinated him since his first awakening. This was not a test of physical skill or quick thinking. It was a moment of understanding, of communication between two species. "You have proven yourself," she said, her voice echoing softly in his mind. "The labyrinth measured your mind, your spirit, and your ability to adapt. Few humans would succeed as you have. Few species would endure such trials." Elias took a cautious step forward. I did what I had to do. Humans have survived many impossible situations, sometimes by chance, sometimes by ingenuity, I suppose. It is what we do. The Queen's ears twitched slightly. "Yes, that is why I am speaking with you now. My people have observed humanity for centuries. We watched from a distance, curious at your achievements, wary of your flaws, but always intrigued by your potential. And now, having tested you, I wish to offer an alliance." Elias's mind raced. An alliance. With a species as advanced and intelligent as the Vulpine, the implications were staggering. Humanity had always been cautious, isolated in its early years of space exploration. But this was recognition, opportunity, and responsibility all at once. "Why would you choose to work with humans?" he asked. "We are not the strongest. We are not the fastest. We have many weaknesses." The Queen stepped closer, her gaze steady and intense. "You are unpredictable. You are capable of ingenuity that defies expectation. You adapt, you survive, and you innovate when others would fail. That is why humans are valuable. Strength alone does not ensure survival in this universe. Intelligence without creativity is hollow. Compassion without reasoning is fragile. Humans, for all their flaws, combine these qualities in ways few species can." Elias felt a mixture of pride and humility. He knew humans were far from perfect, but to hear an alien of such power recognize their strengths, it was exhilarating. "What would this alliance involve?" he asked. The Queen gestured toward a massive holographic map floating above the chamber floor. Planets, star systems, and fleets of vessels shimmered in intricate patterns. "My world and several others have been threatened by a predatory species that consumes or enslaves weaker civilizations. We have knowledge and technology that could protect you, but the universe is not safe for one species alone. We offer cooperation, guidance, and access to knowledge, but only if humans demonstrate they are worthy partners." Elias nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. "And we are capable of proving ourselves?" The Queen's tail flicked subtly. "You already have in this labyrinth. But true partnership requires more than intelligence. It requires trust, strategy, and a willingness to work together. My people will teach you, guide you, and observe your actions. If you prove capable, humans will join our efforts to resist the threats in this galaxy. He studied the holographic map. The Vulpine and allied species had established safe zones, trade routes, and defensive positions across several star systems. But the predatory species had spread widely, using technology, cunning, and aggression to dominate or destroy. Humanity's chance to survive and even thrive depended on learning quickly and acting wisely. "We will do what we must," Elias said, determination settling in his chest. "Humanity has faced threats before, and we adapt. We will rise to this challenge." The Queen's eyes softened, though the intensity remained. "I hope you understand, human, that this is only the beginning. Your species will be tested in ways it has never known. Strategy, diplomacy, creativity, courage, these will be required. And failure may cost more than life itself." Elias took a deep breath. Fear flickered, but it was quickly replaced by resolve. Humans had always faced overwhelming odds and had survived, often against stronger, faster, or more advanced enemies. Adaptability, teamwork, and ingenuity had always been their tools. Now, these qualities would be tested on a cosmic scale. The Queen motioned, and the chamber shifted, revealing a room filled with technology. Sleek alien devices hummed softly, and holographic interfaces floated in midair. Elias stepped forward cautiously. Some devices seemed to manipulate energy. Others displayed vast amounts of information about planets, stars, and civilizations. It was a treasure trove of knowledge and a responsibility. "These are gifts," the Queen said. "Gifts for those who are worthy. They will enhance your abilities, teach you what we know, and allow humanity to contribute meaningfully to the galaxy. But they must be used wisely. Misuse will not go unnoticed." Elias's mind raced as he explored the devices. Human ingenuity had always turned technology into opportunity. He studied the interfaces, realizing that while complex, they were designed to respond to thought and intent rather than mere physical manipulation. With time and observation, humans could master these systems, combining them with their natural creativity to solve problems in ways the Vulpine might not even anticipate. "You will need to learn quickly," the Queen continued. "Your species cannot afford hesitation. But I believe humans are capable of it. You have already proven your ability to adapt and innovate. Now you must apply that on a larger scale." Elias nodded, understanding that the coming days would require careful thought and action. The alliance was more than symbolic. It was strategic. Humanity would gain knowledge, guidance, and protection, but in return, they would be expected to contribute, to act decisively, and to demonstrate the qualities that had earned the Queen's recognition. The Queen stepped closer and placed a paw gently on the edge of a console. "We will begin training, observation, and integration immediately. You will learn our history, our technologies, our methods. You will understand our threats and our allies. And through this process, humans will find their place among the stars." Elias felt a surge of excitement and responsibility. Humans had always been explorers, scientists, and problem solvers. This was the ultimate test, not just for him, but for the entire species. And for the first time, he felt that humanity might truly have a chance to shape events beyond their home planet. As the Queen guided him through the chamber, showing the interfaces and teaching him the basics of their technology, Elias realized how much humans could learn in a short time. The Vulpine methods emphasized observation, experimentation, and adaptability qualities that humans already possessed. Combined, they could achieve remarkable results. "You will also interact with others," the Queen said. "Several species are allied with us. You will learn to communicate, negotiate, and cooperate. Humans are capable of great innovation, but the universe requires collaboration as well. Trust, strategy, and foresight will be just as important as intellect." Elias nodded, feeling the full scope of what lay ahead. Humanity would not simply survive, they had the chance to lead, to influence, and to make a difference on a scale they had never imagined. But it would require dedication, courage, and a willingness to learn from beings far older and more advanced than themselves, as the day or perhaps hours. Since time seemed different here past, Elias immersed himself in the lessons. He absorbed knowledge of star systems, energy manipulation, defensive strategies, and communication protocols. The Vulpine Queen observed silently, offering corrections, guidance, and encouragement where necessary. He worked tirelessly, his mind constantly adapting to the influx of alien knowledge. "Remember," Queen said finally, "that technology alone does not define a species. Your value lies in your mind, your creativity, and your ability to act wisely. That is why we chose to engage with humanity. You are more than your biology or your history. You are capable of shaping your future and the futures of others." Elias looked at her, understanding the depth of her words. This alliance was a test of potential, not just skill. Humans had survived countless challenges by thinking differently, cooperating, and showing courage where others might falter. Now, those same qualities would be required on a galactic scale. He felt a quiet determination settle over him. Humans had a spark, a resilience, and an adaptability that few species could match. And as the Vulpine Queen watched, he resolved to ensure that spark would not only survive, but shine brightly in the universe. For the first time since awakening in the temple, Elias felt a sense of purpose broader than himself, broader than humanity's past struggles. He was part of something larger, a partnership that could define the future. And he understood that his actions, decisions, and ingenuity would have consequences far beyond the labyrinth, beyond the temple, and beyond the stars he had once only dreamed of exploring. The Queen's presence was a reminder. The galaxy was vast, full of challenges and threats, but also full of opportunity. And humanity, small and fragile though it might appear, had the tools, the mind, and the heart to meet those challenges. Elias stood taller, feeling both the weight of responsibility and the thrill of possibility. The labyrinth had ended, but the journey was only beginning. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe. It had allies, guidance, and a chance to demonstrate its true potential. And Elias, a single human among billions, would be a part of that story. As he looked toward the glowing doorway that led further into the temple, he understood the truth of what the Vulpine Queen had said. Humans were not just survivors, they were innovators, thinkers, and collaborators. And the universe would soon discover just how remarkable that could be. Elias stepped through the glowing doorway at the far end of the chamber. Beyond it lay a vast observation hall, with walls of transparent crystal that overlooked a star-filled expanse stretching farther than his eyes could see. Ships of all shapes and sizes floated in orbit, their lights reflecting in the crystalline walls. He realized, with a mixture of awe and disbelief, that he was witnessing a hub of interstellar civilization. The Vulpine and allied species moved with precision, coordinating fleets, exchanging knowledge, and preparing for challenges that spanned entire star systems. The Vulpine Queen walked beside him, her golden fur glowing softly in the ambient light. "You see this, human, because your species will soon take part. You have proven yourselves capable of thinking beyond your immediate environment, of adapting and of surviving. Now you must learn to contribute on a larger scale." Elias nodded, feeling both the weight and the honor of her words. Humanity had always been explorers and problem solvers. But this was something more. It was an opportunity to play a role in shaping the balance of power across the galaxy. "Your first task will be to understand the threat we face," the Queen continued. A holographic display appeared before Elias, showing a dark, swirling mass of fleets moving across multiple star systems. This species is relentless, predatory, and strategic. They take what they want, leaving devastation in their wake. Many civilizations have fallen to them, and only through cooperation, strategy, and ingenuity can they be stopped. Elias studied the display carefully. He realized immediately that brute force alone would be useless. The predators' numbers and technology were superior, and their tactics ruthless. Yet humans had something the predators did not: unpredictability, creativity, and a willingness to adapt in ways that others could not anticipate. "We will do what we must," he said aloud. "Humanity will rise to this challenge." The Queen's eyes glimmered. "Good. You will work alongside our strategists and engineers, learning our methods while applying your own insights. You will see the value of human ingenuity, but you will also learn the importance of cooperation. Elias spent the following days immersed in the Alliance's operations. He learned how to manage fleets, coordinate defense grids, and optimize supply routes. He observed alien engineers manipulate energy fields, create shields, and develop advanced propulsion systems. Yet what fascinated him most was how humans, using their own creativity, contributed ideas the Vulpine had never considered in one exercise. Elias suggested a tactical maneuver inspired by human swarm behavior observed in Earth's animals. It allowed a small fleet to outmaneuver a larger group of simulated enemy ships. The Vulpine strategist studied his methods, impressed by the adaptability and ingenuity that humans displayed. "You are thinking in ways we did not anticipate," one of them said. "Your species sees solutions where others see only obstacles." Elias felt a surge of pride, tempered by the understanding that the real test had yet to come. Training and simulations were valuable, but soon humanity would need to apply these lessons in reality. Weeks passed as humans integrated with the Vulpine and allied species. Cultural exchanges, strategic discussions, and collaborative exercises became the norm. Humans proved remarkably quick to adapt, learning alien technologies and combining them with human intuition. They devised new strategies, optimized communication protocols, and even identified weaknesses in enemy tactics that the Vulpine had not previously noticed. "Your species is remarkable," the Queen said during one briefing. "You are not the strongest, but your mind, your creativity, and your resilience give you an advantage no purely logical species can match." Then came the first real test. Intelligence reports indicated that the Predator fleets were moving toward an unprotected cluster of colonies. The Alliance had to act quickly to prevent devastation. Humans, led by Elias, were tasked with coordinating a defense strategy alongside Vulpine and allied forces. Elias studied the situation carefully. Conventional tactics would likely fail. The enemy's strength lay in their overwhelming numbers and speed. Yet humans had a unique ability to think beyond patterns, to improvise, and to exploit weaknesses in unexpected ways. Drawing on lessons from Earth's history and natural systems, Elias suggested a multi-pronged approach. Smaller, agile units would create decoys, drawing the enemy into traps, while larger, fortified fleets would protect critical colonies and supply lines. The Queen observed his plan silently. When he finished, she nodded. "Humans are capable of innovation, even under pressure. We will follow your lead." The operation began. Fleets moved through the star systems with precision, guided by human and Vulpine coordination. As the enemy advanced, decoys drew them into carefully designed ambushes. Predictable tactics failed. The Predators were forced to react to human unpredictability. Every step required calculation, observation, and adaptability qualities that humans had in abundance. Elias watched the battle unfold, his mind constantly adjusting strategies, predicting enemy moves and sending new orders. The Alliance moved as a cohesive unit, yet it was human ingenuity that turned the tide. The Predators, expecting rigid, predictable strategies, were confused by the humans' adaptability. They struggled to counter improvisation and unexpected maneuvers. After tense hours, the battle concluded. The colonies were protected, the Predator fleet repelled, and losses minimized. The Allied forces celebrated, and Elias allowed himself a moment to breathe. Humans had not only survived, they had contributed decisively. Their ingenuity and creativity had been the difference. The Queen appeared beside him, her expression unreadable, but her eyes reflecting admiration. "You have done well, human. Your species has shown that intelligence, creativity, and adaptability can overcome brute force. This is why we sought alliance with humanity. You do not merely survive, you innovate, you lead, you inspire." Elias felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He had always believed in humanity's potential, but to see it recognized by an advanced alien civilization and to witness it in action was extraordinary. The qualities he had always known humans possessed were now evident on a galactic scale. Over the following months, humanity's role in the alliance grew. Humans became essential strategists, engineers, and diplomats. They devised new technologies, optimized defense networks, and found innovative solutions to challenges that had confounded even the most advanced species. Everywhere humans went, they demonstrated a combination of adaptability, intelligence, and moral reasoning that made them invaluable partners. The universe is vast and dangerous, the Queen said one evening, her gaze fixed on distant stars. Many species fall because they rely solely on strength or predictability. But humans, you think differently. You adapt, you collaborate, and you innovate. That is why you endure, and why your species has a role to play in the cosmos. Elias nodded. Understanding that this was more than praise, it was a lesson, a reminder that humans' greatest strength lay not in physical prowess, but in mind, heart, and spirit. Then came another challenge, diplomatic, mission to a neutral species caught between the predator and the alliance. Elias was selected to lead the negotiations. The mission required tact, strategy, and empathy. Humans had always excelled at diplomacy because of their ability to understand differing perspectives and to think creatively under pressure. Using these skills, Elias successfully mediated an agreement, ensuring that the neutral species joined the alliance in bolstering the collective strength against the predator threat. Throughout it all, Elias felt a quiet pride. Humanity had proven itself in ways he had never imagined when he first awoke in the alien temple. They had survived, adapted, led, and innovated. They had not only earned the trust of the Vulpine Queen, but had become essential partners in the survival of multiple civilizations. The Queen stood beside him one evening, overlooking a busy star system where humans and allies worked together seamlessly. "You have shown what your species is capable of," she said. "Not only courage and intelligence, but creativity, adaptability, and moral insight. These qualities will define humanity's future among the stars." Elias looked at the stars, feeling the enormity of it all. Humans were no longer limited to Earth. They were participants in a vast, interconnected galaxy. Their ingenuity, unpredictability, and perseverance had been recognized and valued. And though challenges would continue to come, humans now had the tools, allies, confidence to face them. "The journey has only begun," the Queen added. "But know this. Humans are not just survivors. You are innovators, leaders, and partners in a galaxy that is greater than any one species. And your potential is limitless." Elias nodded, his heart full of determination and hope. Humanity had a future among the stars, a future shaped not just by technology, but by courage, creativity, and resilience. And as he looked at the distant lights of countless systems, he understood something profound. The universe was vast, yes, but humans were ready. They would endure, adapt, and thrive. And they would leave a mark that no force, no predator, and no obstacle could erase. The Vulpine Queen watched silently, knowing that humanity's story had only just begun. And for the first time in generations, she felt a deep confidence that the unpredictable, resilient, and brilliant species known as humans would change the galaxy for the better. Elias turned toward the Queen, a smile on his face. "We are ready." And with that, humanity stepped fully into the galaxy, not as a fragile newcomer, but as a force of ingenuity, courage, and hope, proving that even the smallest species, when clever and resilient, could shape the universe itself.